Hey YouTube, it's Marida and welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. In this edition, we are actually going to address a few more comments. These comments were not negative, but I just wanted to, or questions, shall I say. I just wanted to kind of address these because I feel like these were great comments that these people have made or questions that they asked. And I wanted to be able to come here and just basically give a general answer because I feel like a lot of people will have some of these same questions. And just so I can go ahead and put a video out there to address these comments and questions, that's what I thought I would go ahead and do in this video today. If you want to see what I'm talking about, stay tuned. Back. So, like I said, I'm going to address a few comments and questions that people have had under my last few videos, and I thought they were excellent questions or comments, and so I just wanted to take some time to answer them and give you a why or just something to help people better understand why things are the way they are. So, first and foremost, I am looking at my computer. I'm looking at my computer here. And I'm just going to go through and basically read the question or the comment that someone made and then kind of elaborate as to why things are the way they are regarding that. So this one right here was a video that I had done called Addressing Negative Comments. And I had one person who, had said something that was truly opinion-based that they wanted to pass off as fact. And I don't do that here. But anyway, that's not what this video is about. This video is about, or this comment was that the person said that they think it's absolutely insane that there are programs that have you sign something saying that you won't work. So what they are responding to is basically, I had did a video, saying, to preface this, I did a video saying that some nursing programs, or actually most, if not all, recommend that you do not work, and some make a have you sign a contract of sorts or something saying that you will not work. And so the person was just saying they think it's insane that they have to sign something that, to say that they won't work. And I respectfully disagree with that statement. And again, this person left the comment. It was not a negative comment. They were just stating their opinion, which is perfectly fine. But this is where the dialogue comes in at. This is where sometimes when you have one perspective because you only see it from one way, is why it's good to have these conversations so you can say, okay, let me hear somebody else's perspective on that and why it is probably the way it is. And then once you hear the other side, if you still have your opinion, then you still have your opinion. However, with this particular comment, when she said she thinks it's insane that some schools would have you sign a contract saying that you would not work while you're in nursing school. So let me paint a picture for you. So the reason why schools do this is because of the fact that they want you to be successful in the program, first and foremost. And we're not going to go through this people have to work thing. I already know that. That's not the thing. But for select programs, think about this. If you just work the previous 12 hours shift, okay, and you come into clinical the next morning, and students have done this, so that's why I know this is a fact. How do you think it's safe for you to work a 12-hour shift the night before and come to either even class the next morning or come in and take a test the next morning? Now, you may say, well, who would schedule themselves like that? Well, sometimes when you have some jobs that you don't get to pick when you want to work. Some people are not PRN. They're scheduled to work and you either come in or you don't. And if you don't come in, you can potentially lose your job. So with that being said, do you honestly think it is safe for someone to work a 12-hour shift? And let's not even say come to class the next morning. Let's say they have clinical the next morning. And they come to clinical and they're required to take care of patients. And in clinical, that is what you do, right? You take care of patients. So when you take care of patients and you just been up for the past probably 15 hours working all night and you're doing a day shift clinical. So then you're going to be up for the next potentially up to 12 to 15 hours after the fact. So that means you could have been up for a total of 30 hours. Does that make it safe for you to be taking care of patients and passing meds? Do you think you would have the most sound judgment when you've been up for that long? Statistically, people will say that, when you have not had any sleep for over 24 hours, you function like someone who has a blood alcohol level that is elevated because of the fact that you are disoriented to a certain degree. You have not had any sleep. You are not sharp. You're not on task. You mentally are not where you need to be. You're not mentally, I won't say mentally sound, but you're definitely not where you need to be in terms of being ready to react fast, to think fast, to care for your patients. Now, let me ask you this. Would you want a nursing student coming in and working on you who just worked the previous 12 hours? This is why they have contracts as to why you don't need to be working while you're in school, because everybody can't dictate when they're going to work. So just because you may have a PRN job that says I'm going to work on the weekends or whatever it happens to be, or work only on school breaks, everybody doesn't have that luxury. And when we have students come in, because I'm an educator, remember that. I'm an educator. So I see for the past 16 years or 15 years what students do and how it can be detrimental to not only themselves, a patient, but the nursing program in itself. Do you not think a nursing program is going to say, okay, we want to cut all liabilities out? We don't want to be liable for when you come in and don't do something correctly because you have been working the whole previous day. And let's not even talk about what your grades may look like when you work the previous shift and come into work. So we're not saying things like this don't work because we don't want you to work. We're saying this because we got to keep our patients safe. And above all, that's what this is about, keeping our patients safe, keeping the students safe, and also as well as keeping that program up and running. Because if you sit there and do something wrong to a patient because you've been up for the previous 12 hours and you do a med error, you're going to get drug tested. And even though you may come up negative for a drug, if they found out that you have worked the night before and you have caused harm to somebody, that can potentially get you out the program. So you all have to make up your mind, which is more important. Do I want to work and not have control over my schedule? Or do I want to make sure that I'm taking care of my patients? And so you best to believe the nursing school or program is going to side on the side of let's make sure our patients are taken care of and let's make sure that we don't harm anybody. So I want you to think of it from that way, not think of it from the perspective of, oh, we just don't want students to work because they need to focus on school, which that's what you really do want, because this is a program in which you're going to be taking care of people and hopefully saving lives, or at least keep them at their baseline. We don't want them to get any worse, obviously. So, that comment she made was not a bad comment. She just thought, she just said she thought it was kind of, her word was insane that somebody would make you do that. But I do want you to think about, okay, why is it that we would probably do that? Why do you think we're just that egregious where we're like, you know what, let's not egregious, that's not the right word. Do you think we're just that, kind of, I wouldn't say cynical either, but where we say, well, we don't want our students to work. No program wants their students to work who is in a professional program. That's just how it is. But again, as I stated before, sometimes that is not possible. You have to work. But that's why I advise you to get a PRN type gig where you can have flexible scheduling, where you could schedule when you wanted to. We could schedule on the weekends. You're not being made to work the night before a class or a clinical. And don't tell me it don't go on, because I've been teaching for 15 years and it does go on. So that's why we don't want people working, because you could come in and kill somebody. It's just that simple. And if we kill somebody, then not only are you in trouble because you're not going to get a nursing license now because you done killed somebody, but so is the nursing program and everybody else who's affiliated with that agreement. And then of course that school of nursing can no longer go to that facility. And so now you have caused, if this happens, you have caused them to lose a clinical site, which is hard to find to begin with. And so think about it from those perspectives. I think sometimes we as students and or nurses or people, we think about me. Think about how this impacts everyone else, not just you. Because when you go to be a nurse, it's not really about you. It's about your patients. So if everything is about patient safety and nurse safety and things along those lines, stop thinking it's about me and think about who I'm here to take care of. when you think about who you're here to take care of, that would kind of give you some insight in terms of, okay, let me have some common sense about this. Another thing, let's say, for instance, you were about to board a plane and the pilot was up all last night, the previous 12 hours, doing who knows what. And he's going to fly you from the United States to, say, London. Do you think you want him flying you from US to London and he done been up for the previous 15 hours? Do you think that's really safe? So again, the things we do is to make sure we keep our patients safe so that we can make sure that we don't kill anybody. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put that to rest regarding this work thing. But if you have questions about that, definitely put those in the comments. But I kind of want to just kind of talk about that a little bit because of the fact that, like I said, people are still caught up on that. Like, they don't understand why you can't work while you're in nursing school. Yes, people do work because they have to. However, if you don't have flexible scheduling where you have to work certain days, you're required to, otherwise you lose your job, then you are not going to be safe when you come into clinical. You're not going to be coherent when you come into class. And for the most part, you're not going to make the best grades. I'm not saying you're not going to pass your exams, but you're not going to make the best grades when you've been up for the whole night before. That's just common sense. Common sense. Now, if you are the exception, then you are the exception, but you are not the rule. So let's, again, put that to rest. My next comment is this. And this was a great comment. And this is actually what prompted this video. So the comment was, let me see. This was addressing the video I made regarding my last video. My last video was difficulties that minority students have in nursing school and some resources. So the comment was this, and I'm going to read the comment. I'm not going to read the name, but I'm going to read the comment because this is a really, really great point this person makes. And then they ask some questions, kind of some follow-up questions that I want to address. And I really want to address them via this video so that they could have a better understanding. So before I read the question, please understand that I'm coming to you all not from a minority standpoint per se, but from an education standpoint, educator standpoint. So when I answer these questions, I'm answering them from an educator standpoint, not necessarily from being a minority. Okay. So I want you, and again, I want you all to say, let's step out the box. Let's think about not me, specifically me, but think about how the world works, and that will help you understand this better. So anyway, the statement was this. And again, this is an excellent statement. It says, I have gone to many tours for multiple PA programs and nursing programs. And when you look at the class photos from 2005 to 2015, they all look very similar. I agree with you on that. I really wish the race category could be removed from applications altogether. It makes you wonder, it says, makes you wonder, are other races not applying? Why is this person the only person that looks like them in their class? And why is there never a majority of any other race on one class photo in 15 years? So these are all excellent statements. And I thought it was so good that this is the reason why I had to address this via video. So the first thing I want to say, when I'm going to kind of dissect this question or this statement a little bit and just kind of dive into it. So when they said, I really wish the race category could be removed from applications altogether. Well, truth be told, they can't be, because that's how we break down. That's how we break down the demographics of anything, is by usually class, race, different things like that. We need to know how many minorities are in a program. We need to know ethnic minorities are in a program. We need to know how many females are in a program. That is part of our retention data. That is part of the data that goes to us saying, this is what we're graduating. We have to know what our attrition rates are, and we have to know who is falling out and why they're falling out. So with that being said, we have to know what the races are. But what they are saying, I think, is they feel that race is a factor in terms of selection for nursing programs. And I would have to say that if that is what you meant by that comment in terms of removing race altogether, then I have to respectfully disagree. And the reason why I say that is because I've taught at about 5 different institutions, and I've seen the selection process in picking students. Okay. And I just have to say that race a lot of times is not a factor in some of these situations. Now, before you all go ham, discrimination exists everywhere. Yes, it does. Discrimination exists everywhere. What I am telling you is many of the programs that, especially the competitive ones that I have seen, the ones who don't require interviews, because if they require an interview, that means they have to see you and they can kind of say, I don't know if I want them. They could be discriminating that way. That I could see. But if you didn't go to a program that required an interview, a lot of times, really, how these programs decide who gets in the program or not is it's a software program. So basically, a software program says it calculates. So let's say, for instance, your program takes 60 students per semester or something like that. This software program will compile the GPA and your T score, and it will rank them from top to like the first 60 students. And then you have the rest of the people down there as well. So it will list accordingly. So if you're a school that says we take the top 60 because of the fact that we want the highest GPAs because we're being competitive, then if there are no minorities in that group, that's not because of the people selecting them. It's because of how your GPA doesn't match up. And that goes back to the video that I just put out of why we're not succeeding in nursing school or why we are having difficulties in nursing school. So you can't blame your counterparts for not selecting you when you didn't meet the criteria. Again, our students are not meeting the criteria. This is not per se a race war here. And that's what I want you all to understand. As much as I stand behind students, minority students, 50%, you are not meeting the level of competition to get into these programs. So again, if you are not being interviewed, they won't know based off of a sheet of paper what you are, besides your name maybe, but who you are. And truth be told, professional programs is about some money. So if they're about money, they gonna take whoever. Okay, they just only have so many spots they can fill. So I would have to say your nursing programs, your school, your programs like the education, engineering, those programs bring in a lot of money for the university or for the college or for the school or whatever happens to be. So you best to believe they want as many people to fill those slots as possible. So they're not going to per se discriminate if the color that they see is green, which is money. So if the color they see is green, money, we want you in here, but we also want people who are going to fit our bottom line, which means we're going to be successful in the program, which means your NCLEX rates are going to be high because that means I need to keep my program open. If you have students who are not at the level they need to be, and they come into a nursing program and they are not successful, that impacts the nursing school scores, meaning they finish the program, but they don't pass NCLEX. That impacts your scores. So if your NCLEX pass rates are not at a certain level, your program can be shut down. So therefore, we have to have the best of the best, or that's what we want, the best of the best. So that's the reason why GPAs are so important. I keep telling you all, GPAs are very important. Now, this is at your competitive programs. If you're going to a program that's less selective, and I'm just going to call it that, and this is a hard topic. Many of y'all know, I'm going to say it just like it is. If you go to a program that is less selective, meaning that they accept anybody, that's where you're going to see a lot of your minorities at. Because some of them are not making the GPA requirements, okay? And if you watch the previous videos, I have said a couple of times that some of us do not come, and this is no matter race, but some of us don't come from the best high school experiences. We don't, myself included. We don't come from the best high school experiences, so therefore we don't do our best. Therefore, we don't have the highest GPAs. Therefore, we don't do well. We have no support system. We are first generation college, and we about that party life. You have to come to school ready to nursing school ready to come to nursing school. And of course, there are educated, all kinds of people. Minorities are very intelligent. However, because they have played around, their GPA don't show it. And at the end of the day, we don't care how smart you say you are. That GPA is a factoring criteria as to whether you get in a program or not. So so she's wondering why you don't see many people who look like her, or who evidently she looks like me, for her to make the comment, or I'm not saying he or she, the person looks like me. And it's because of the fact that we are not meeting the criteria. And it's just that simple. So if you, again, I've said this before, if you have a program that requires a 3.5, which there's 2 programs that I've taught it that both require 3.5. But if you have 70 students who are trying to get into 60 slots and they all have 3.8 or above, your 3.5 don't cut it. You're not getting in the program. You're just not. Now, if you are someone who, or not someone, but if you're in a program who requires interviews and maybe your interview is what pushed you over the top, then maybe so. But for the ones, a lot of programs at the undergraduate level don't require interviews. At the master's and doctorate level, they typically do require interview, but everybody doesn't require interview. Sometimes they require you to do a writing, some type of writing to say, why you want to be a nurse or something like that. That in itself may or may not have any kind of identifying factors to say who you are in terms of race. But if you can't write well, then you're not going to be they're not going to select you. If that's part of the interview process or part of the accepting process, then if you can't write well, you're not going to be in the program. So when we talk about one of those things, the person is one. I keep saying she. I don't know if it's a she or he, but the person says makes you wonder why other races are not applying. Oh, they're applying. They're just not getting in. They don't meet the criteria. So they end up going to a program that is less selective. Yeah, less selective, meaning they accept more people, and that's just where they go. So it depends on what kind of school you're looking at. If you're looking at a school that has higher requirements, a lot of times we're just not meeting the criteria. And it's not because of the fact of what we look like. It's a computer that says, okay, here's the top 60 people who, or here's the top, 60 people who meet the criteria for the program. And so it will list you in order from highest ranking in terms of top number 1 person with a 4.2 GPA and a high T score all the way down to the lowest person. And so, they go through that list and say, okay, this person, we take the first, if the class takes 60, we take the first 60 and then we put the other, say 5 on a waiting list in case the other 60 don't accept for some reason. And then they get bumped up if somebody doesn't accept. So it's not that we're not applying, it's that we're not meeting the criteria. And that is in most cases. Now, again, like I told you, discrimination does exist. So I'm quite sure a part of the selective process, there is somebody in this world who is saying, oh, they're black, I don't want them in my program. I can guarantee you that goes on somewhere. But I don't want you to get into that notion that everything's a race war, because it's not. It is truly, we are not competitive enough. And so even just today, as I'm doing this video today, I advise students, because I'm an educator, and I happened to say to her, I said, she has an A right now in A&P, and she's a freshman. I'm trying to get her right now. Listen, this GPA is you better get this GPA and keep this GPA up right now. A lot of times too, when we decide we want to go into nursing school, we play that freshman year in college. We play and play and play, and we have a 2.0 GPA. We pass and we got all C's. Okay, well now you decide, okay, I'm for real now. I want to be a nurse, and now I'm a junior. And okay, well you can't change that 2.0 GPA unless you repeat classes. So you really don't have time to do that. And some programs won't let you repeat classes, or financial aid won't let you repeat because of the fact that financial aid is tied to it. Or for our program, we only take your first science grade. So if you take A&P 1 and you get a C in it, or you get a D in it, let's say you get a D, which is not acceptable, but then you take it again and get an A in it, it's the first time you take it. So even though your GPA went up, we look at the first time you took the class. You were not ready at that point in time. Common sense would tell you, for most people, when we repeat things, that we do better the second time. Most people would tell you that. So that's kind of, what I want to say about that. I don't say that everything is truly about race. We just not competitive. All right, so now to dissect her next question or statement. My computer went off. So they said, why am I the only person that looks like me in my class? For the same reasons, because you're the only one who met the criteria. And then keep in mind, It's say other people who do meet the criteria, they get in the program, but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, they have life issues that happen. They get pregnant, they have family issues, they have no support, they have nowhere to live, they don't get kicked out, they having boyfriend issues, marriage issues, and so we just don't have the support that we have, so we fall out of these programs. So you would ask, is this by design or by default that we're having these issues? It's both. The system is set up in such a way that we have a harder time, but part of it is we bring it up on ourselves because of unfortunately, some of us still have that slave mentality. We have that slave mentality, and since we have that slave mentality, we expecting handouts, and ain't nobody handing you nothing, and then you get butt hurt when you get to the program. You're like, okay, well, I want to be a nurse, but this, that, and the other. Let me tell you the one thing that I've noticed that kicks a lot of students out. Sometimes it's not even their grades that kick you out. It's your attitude and your behavior that kicks you out. In our program, we have a zero tolerance for attitudes, for talking back, for not coming to clinical on time, for coming to clinical unkempt, meaning that your uniform is not ironed, your hair is down, you have to have hair up. And so when you come like that, you get unsatisfactories. When you come talking crazy, popping, smacking gum, you get unsatisfactories in our program. And when you get too unsatisfactory, you out the class. You miss 2 classes, you out the program. So sometimes it's not even your grades, it's your attitude. And if you don't get your attitude together to realize, let me humble myself and keep my mouth shut. There's been plenty of times, and I mean plenty, that I've had to bite my tongue because I know how my mouth, you all know how my mouth is. It can be savage sometimes. And I've had times where I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me keep my mouth shut because this person right here is controlling my grade. And if they control my grade, I can't live my best life because I'm giving in to that. So a lot of us need to learn how to watch our mouths and watch our attitudes and watch how we show up to clinical in class. Because if you don't, it's going to get you out the program. Nobody's tolerating disrespect. Now, if you feel like you're being disrespected, then that's something different. And you have to address it. But there is a professional way to address issues that you have, and you go up the chain like you're supposed to. When you do things like that, then you can get things done better than you can if you popping off at the mouth. And we know how we can be sometimes. So one other thing I wanted to say, as well as why we're having a harder time, is because of the fact that do you all remember the No Child Left Behind Act that one of the Bushes, President Bushes, I'm not sure it's the father or the son, but one of the Bushes implemented No Child Left Behind. So No Child Left Behind, for the ones of you who are too young, too old, whatever, don't remember, No Child Left Behind meant you didn't fail your classes. No Child Left Behind meant you may not have turned in homework, but you got full credit or partial credit for it, not did anything with it. Well, guess what? Those No Child Left Behind children are now in college. They have grown up. And because now they're in college and they grew up during that time period where we went through No Child Left Behind, they are in a situation where they have come to expect to not have to do anything but get credit for it. And I deal with those exact students right now. I'm on my class right now that I'm finishing right now is part of the No Child Left Behind Act students. This is what they are. And they're asking me for extra credit. I'm like, in nursing school? No, we don't do nursing. We don't do extra credit in nursing school. Either you know it or you don't. Or, you've played the whole semester. Now you got zeros. Now you can start about your grade now. So keep in mind too, we are dealing with a generation of people who have been accustomed to not having to do a whole lot of work to get something for free. And so when they get to nursing school, they're not getting that. And there's not a whole lot of programs there's programs who probably are more lenient when it comes to certain things. But the ones that I go to, the ones I teach at are not. And those are the ones I actually stand for. I'm not for a program that's going to give you anything. Everything you get at our program, you earned it. And I mean, earned it. Earned it. If you didn't earn it, you don't get it. So the lenient programs, it is what it is. But I want, I don't want a nurse who went through such a lenient program that he or she don't know how to take care of me. I want someone who went through a program that had rigor to it, a program that taught you something, a program that made you more disciplined in your approach to healthcare, something that made you more knowing how to apply what you have learned instead of regurgitating facts. And then you get in there and you practice it on me and I die. That's not what I want. I want someone so therefore anybody who I teach, my philosophy is this. When I teach someone, I want to say, will I be able to work side by side with you when you finish school? Knowing that you're a new nurse, can I work side by side with you? And if the answer is no, then no, I don't want you to, I don't want you to be my nurse. So I want you to come to the level that I need you to be at, because I want you to be at a level which, when you're working with me, you can be somewhat independent. You're going to ask questions, which is nothing wrong with that. But I want you to be very much someone who can kind of hold your own to a certain degree, and not sitting here looking like, okay, what do I do next? Okay, so what have you been doing in nursing school this whole time? You get to the floor, don't even know what to do, type of thing. Part of that is due to this COVID pandemic situation. We're going to have some nurses that come out due to COVID who, due to not having clinical sites or not be able to go to clinical due to this pandemic, they're going to be a little bit behind, and that's understandable in this situation. But I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the ones who really just come out, been playing the whole time, somehow finish school, and think you're going to come out and take care of me. No. See, I only want people who know what they're doing to take care of me. So therefore, I want you to go to a school, or it's not really about the rigor, but I want you to take the program seriously. So keep in mind, I'm now dealing with those No Child Left Behind type students. They've grown up now, like I said, and because they have grown up, now we're dealing with, they want to be handed everything, plus the entitlement generation that we have going on now. And I don't hand nothing to nobody, because nobody handed anything to me. So you have to earn everything. So that's another reason why too, that we are having students who are also not in the programs, because of the fact that they're not used to the rigor. They're not used to having to work. They came up in a generation, and it's not their fault. This is not their fault. This is society's fault for allowing this to go on, where teachers or educators were made to pass students who are not ready to go to the next grade level. That's what this is really about. And then we get to college. So we done graduated from high school. Now we in college, and we about to be happy because we in college, whatever. But you in college with your 2.0 GPA because they passed you the entire time, or they gave you A's because of the fact that, well, let's go ahead and get them out of here. And then you really don't know anything when you get to college, and then it shows up somehow, some way. So anything that you did not do in high school, or anything that you didn't do in your prereqs in your college classes, it will rear its ugly head, and we will know that you were not prepared for nursing school. So I don't care if your transcript says all A's. Them tests is going to show us, when you start taking those tests, it's going to show us that you were not prepared as you thought you were, or as somebody tried to convey that you were. So that's that one. So I really appreciate that comment that she made, because, or I don't know, I'm sorry if you're a he, I'm so sorry, that they made. And why are we the only one who looks like us in our class? The higher you climb, the less of you gonna see. And I can tell you that from my doctoral program. The higher you climb, the less people who look like you're going to see. Keep in mind too, some of it is not because of discrimination. Some of it's because we have that slave mentality. It takes work to get to these higher levels, and some of us don't want to do the work. It's just that simple. The higher up we go, some of us, okay, y'all gonna come get me for this one, but I'm ready. Come on. So some of y'all, the ones of y'all who feel like, okay, I just want me an associate's degree, and that's where I'm gonna stay. Well, you're the reason why. You're the reason why. That's the mentality they want us to have. I wish you all would understand how the system works. Yes, they will allow you into nursing school. Yes, they will allow you to be a nurse. Yes, they don't want you to advance. And for you to simply say that I'm going to stay at the associate's degree level because I'm making the same money, and so there's no point of going on to the bachelor's level or whatever level it happens to be, that's what they want you to do. You up here playing checkers, and they playing chess with you. You don't even know how the game go. I know how the game go, because guess what? I play chess instead of checkers. So when y'all getting played is what I'm trying to say, because they trying to keep you at a certain level. Have you ever noticed in nursing that you see a whole lot of ethnic minorities in med-surg? Have y'all noticed that? Now, mind you, that doesn't mean we're not anywhere else. We are in other areas as well. But you will find a lot of ethnic minorities in med-surg. They put them there. You end up going there because, like, well, I don't know what I really want to do. I want to start off med-surg. But then you realize you sometimes have a harder time going to other specialties. Why can't I get hired into OB? Why can't I get hired into ICU? Now, if you live in a demographic like Detroit, like Atlanta, like Philly, different areas, Chicago, places like that where it is heavily populated with ethnic minorities, this may not apply to you because that's what the population is anyway. But if you live in an area that is less diverse, it's very less diverse, you're going to find a lot of us in the med-surg floors. But you won't find a lot of us in some of these other specialty areas because by design, they want to keep you there. Okay. So again, you're not going to find people in your class that looks like you because you went to take anatomy, because you went to take microbiology, because you went to take pathophysiology, because by design, people are trying to keep you out of those classes because we have that mentality that we can't rise. We okay with mediocre. And until we get out of our mindset to say, you know what, I'm not okay with mediocre. I don't care if where I go, there's nobody who looks like me because I want what's best for me and my family, my children, my whatever. I want to go ahead and rewrite the narrative. That is I used to say that all the time. I'm rewriting the narrative. I'm here because I'm a doctorally prepared nurse because I am rewriting the narrative for the rest of you who you can see it can be done. It can be done. So once you all get out of your mindset that I want to be stuck at a certain place because that's where society wants you, you're being played. And just know you're being played. Now, for the rest of you who want to stay there because you generally want to be there, all of us are not meant to go on to be anything beyond what we want to be. That's perfectly fine. But I am saying that it is in your best interest to look into advancements, going on to get higher education, because I'm telling you, the higher you go, the higher you grow, and it opens your eyes to what's really going on here in the real world. Knowledge is power, and that's what they don't want you to have. I keep trying to tell y'all that. Knowledge is power. So that's that one. Now let me go to this next one that I thought was an excellent question or comment, or question actually. The question was, how do we go about finding the demographics of the previous graduating classes, or how can we research to see if the program is diverse? That is an excellent question right there. And honestly, from the side of being a student, I can't even really tell. From an educator standpoint, we have data that tells us, you know, this, that, and the other. So my advice to you would be, if the school of nursing or program happens to be local, go to the School of Nursing if they're allowing people to come on campus. Go look at those pictures that my previous commenter, go look at those pictures on the wall, those nursing pictures. You're going to see right there, that's going to tell you how diverse the program is. So if you're local, go to that school and look on the wall, and it will show you the graduates. You'll see a lot of times the graduates of the previous classes to know how diverse it is. So that tells you a lot right there. Just like the previous commenter said, they had went for 10 years and scanned different schools, different walls, and saw there were not ethnic minorities there, or not many. Go look at that first. And then another way to do it, tip number 2, would just be to call the school, call the program, call whoever the contact person is for the program, and simply say, you know what, I am interested in your program, but I honestly want to know how diverse the student body is. And honestly, they may not be able to have you some data because that's not something they roll off the tip of their tongue with. They may not say, oh, we have, 30 or 60% Caucasian and 2%. They're not gonna be able usually to spill off those kind of statistics unless somehow they just compiled them. It's not sitting on a desk somewhere to say, this is what you say if they call and say that. But if you really want to know, call and see what they say. And then, if they don't give you answers, or, oh, we really don't keep up with that kind of data, which is a lie. If they can't give you the kind of information, which is they can, then that may not be the school you want to go to. If they can't give you things like that, then that may not be the school you want to go to. Now, could they tell you right then and there? They may say, I don't have that information for you right now, but give me a call back in a day or so, or however they may say it, or let me get you in contact with this person. They may be able to tell you, but that's something that they could tell you, honestly, is what the data is. So call and find out. My third tip, if you don't want to call or can't call, my third tip is a lot of nursing schools or nursing programs have the faculty listed on their nursing page. So if the program has the faculty listed, look what they look like. If your faculty is not diverse, if your faculty is majority Caucasian, more than likely your student body is majority Caucasian. This is not 100%. So I'm not saying, this is definitely a telltale sign, not 100%, but that is one way to find out, to give you an idea. If you see one minority faculty there are probably 1 or 2 or 3 minority students there. But in terms of a general rule of thumb, if they are all or mostly Caucasian, they probably have mostly Caucasian students. If you go to a HBCU, as an example, and your in faculty are all mostly ethnic minorities, your students are probably mostly ethnic minorities. Now, does that mean you're not going to have any Caucasian students? No, it doesn't mean that. You're going to have Caucasians. We have Caucasian students in our program. We also have Caucasian faculty in our program. But we have, comparatively, if you look, well, we don't have ours up, but if we had ours up, we have only 2 Caucasian faculty, just 2. And the pro nursing part, or 3. We have 3 in the nursing program. So, and the rest are African American. So, that tells you something. So that's another way to look and see if that is feasible for you. So those are some tips that I have. So anyway, I think those are, is there any more comments? I want to say that is all. I have one comment on here that says they completely agree that public educational system does fail minority communities that is not in the best neighborhood. So thank you for that comment. That is very, very true. A lot of times, depending on where you live, it does definitely impact who's ready for the next level of college and who's not. So yeah, so, you know, keep in mind that I don't think that everything is by design for us to get in or not get in. Sometimes it is by design. Sometimes it's by default. Sometimes we're not ready. So I'm just kind of recapping here. We're not ready. Again, No Child Left Behind was an issue or is an issue right now. Sometimes it's just that we just don't meet the criteria and our counterparts do. And so that's the reason why I'm really pushing the fact on my minority students. And I do this, I think I'm doing it more so because I am at a HBCU and I do see the struggles that we have, at least at our institution. Again, I don't speak in totality. So I'm sure there's people, I know there's people out there who are excelling in nursing school. Of course there are. But statistically, we are not well represented. And we're not well represented because of the fact that we just don't meet the criteria. And why we don't meet the criteria, again, is because it's multifaceted. It's all the reasons that I've stated before, all the reasons why I've stated in my previous videos. Sometimes we have poor attitudes. And like I said, there's nothing that's going to get you quicker out of a program besides your grades is your attitude. So we come in with these attitudes. We come in thinking that we're entitled, things like that. Believe me, I've seen it and I've wrote people up for it. And I said, you keep on talking crazy like that, you're going to be out the program. So it's up to you. You know, so if you come in with that kind of mentality or that mindset that I'm going to do what I want to do, ain't nobody going to tell me nothing. Okay, nursing school going to humble you, sis. Bruh. Nursing school going to humble you real quick. And it's always people like that who end up not succeeding because of the fact that their mouth or their attitude got them in trouble. And if that didn't do it, their grades got them in trouble. Their work ethic got them in trouble. And so you can put all that together, then we have a problem. We need to learn how to monitor our mouths. And that's me included. I had to learn to monitor my mouth. I couldn't be popping off on people. Even with my doctoral degree, there's some things I definitely didn't agree with. But those instructors had my grade in their hand. And you best to believe if they have my grade in their hand, that they're going to sit there and if here's an example. Let's say, for instance, I'm on the border. I'm on the cusp of having a certain grade, a passing grade. Let's just say I need to pass. And they may say, you know what? That student really, really worked hard. They were professional. They were this, that, and other. I'm going to go ahead and bump them up. Okay. Or they can say, you know what? That attitude they had, nope, this is the grade they get. So I'm telling you, a lot of times your attitude can carry you a long way. Sometimes some professors will have grace and mercy upon you and say, you know what? I know they're having a hard time. I'm going to bend a little bit for them. I'm going to go ahead and bump them up. But if you come out here popping and carrying on with your mouth and talking crazy and being savage, having a savage mouth like sometimes I have, then they're not gonna extend that grace to you. And I can't say I blame them because I don't either. You know, I had one who she tried it, and she just tried it, and then she was just like, well, can I get some extra credit? No, ma'am. Which we don't give nobody anyway. Can you drop a grade? No, ma'am. And she got the grade she got. She passed the class. That's not, you know, I would never take anything away from anybody passing a class. You get the grades you're going to get, but you're not going to get any extra grace from me when you've been savage the entire semester. It doesn't work that way. So anyway, this video is a long video. I know it is, but I did want to have this conversation with you all because I felt like those questions or comments that they made were excellent. And I feel like not enough is being said about things like that. Why are we having a hard time? Why are we not making it? And I just want to let you know is sometimes it's not them, it's us. And that's a hard pill to swallow. So we don't want to hear that we are our own worst enemy. And sometimes we are. But hopefully this provided you some insight in this video. I need you all to like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Thumbs this video up. Definitely, we got to get this channel up to 2,000 subscribers. And reason being is because I am going live probably once a week or so, depending on my schedule, when we get to 2,000 subscribers. And what that basically means is I'm going to start going live and asking or answering your nursing questions. So Nursing 101 is called In Class with Dr. Marida P. And that's what we will kind of do going forward. Hopefully that will happen by 2021. But if we can go ahead and get this subscription count up to 2,000, I can't wait to go ahead and go live to hear your questions, your concerns, your comments. What would I do if? What did I do if? Things like that. So thank you so much for watching this video. And until the next time, let's chat in the comments. You all take care. Bye-bye.